So often on a landing page, people aren't using the language that their customers would use, or they're not using language at all.
Welcome back to the Teach Traffic podcast with myself, Ilana Wexler. This is a show where we reveal the best tips, tricks and tactics to increasing your website traffic and then converting that traffic into leads and sales. We also discuss what's working right now in the ever-changing world of web marketing so you can apply it to your business. Welcome back to another episode of Teach Traffic. I'm your host, Ilana Wexler, and today I am interviewing a very special guest, Steven Lewis from Taleist.Agency. And Steven is a copywriter, and we're going to be talking about what to do if you are sending the right kind of traffic to your website and it's not converting to leads or sales. A very, very important component. I often say to people that paid traffic and online marketing is as strong as the weakest link. You can send the best traffic in the world, but if your landing page is doesn't have the right copy or is letting you down in some way, then no amount of good traffic is going to work. And Steven is nodding his head madly, which is fantastic. So today we're going to help you diagnose some of those issues. So if you're sending the right kind of traffic, your search terms on the Google search are spot on, and you don't really see any big sort of outliers of you buying the wrong kind of traffic, then it's time to address perhaps some of the copy on your landing page. And I am not a copywriting expert, which is why I have brought Steven on today's show to explore and help us diagnose some of these issues. So Steven, thank you for coming.
Hey, Ilana, thanks for having me.
You and I go a little way back, and
True.
it's nice to see that both of us are still sticking to our passions and what we love doing, and there is definitely overlap in our Venn diagram of work that we do.
True.
Yeah, so do you want to kind of, before we get started into some of these diagnostic issues that we're going to cover, do you want to maybe give us a little bit of a very brief background about who you are and what you do?
Taleist is an agency that I founded. There are now 4 of us. And we specialize in copywriting because writing has been what I've always been interested in. I did get a law degree back in the day. I realized very quickly I didn't want to be a lawyer, but realized I did like writing. So, like a lot of lawyers, I moved into writing, which in my case was journalism. And from journalism, that progressed into copywriting because companies would come and ask you to write for them. And that is something that I've always taken very seriously. And I take very seriously the part of copywriting that is writing to persuade. There is a difference between content writing and copywriting. And the difference is that they both exist along a spectrum of persuading. So for me, it's been about studying the psychology, about studying what makes people do things. And so along the way, we have really refined ourselves from what probably was a content agency about 5 years ago into really narrowing down on it's about response. And if you're buying traffic, you want a response. And that's what we specialize in doing, which is why most of what we do is research.
Awesome. Alrighty. So let's get to the topic at hand, which is the premise of if you are sending good quality traffic to your website, and if you're a diligent student of teachtraffic.com, then you would fall into that category. But we need to have a look at the landing page. So you go through, I believe, a 7-point kind of checklist, which we're going to talk about in today's episode, to help us kind of try and diagnose those issues. So let's go through potentially issue number 1. What do you look at?
The person who arrives on your landing page does not really know what you do. So in that instance, for instance, one of my favorites is accountants who want to be your business advisor. If I'm looking for someone to do my tax return or my GST or otherwise, I'm not looking for a business advisor. I'm looking for the word accountant. So often on a landing page, people aren't using the language that their customers would use, or they're not using language at all. So you might arrive and there's a lovely hero image of some kind, two grey-haired people shaking hands in an airport.
It's a classic stock image.
Classic stock image. You've got a picture of the Sydney Harbour Bridge, so we all know that you're in Sydney. All of that is marvellous, but what do you do? And what does that mean for me? So there's a lot of assumption. For instance, copywriting would be a really good example, right? I think if you polled 10 people what is a copywriter, you'd probably get 10 different answers that would skirt around the topic. So if you had a copywriting landing page, you would want to say, I write things that make your phone ring, or whatever it is that's going to get that across. So if you pause this podcast right now, go and look at your own landing pages, would you see above the fold exactly what you do in plain terms and why that is meaningful to your customer? That is the number one mistake we see all the time.
And I think you make a really important distinction, and it's that next step of what you do, but that next step of how it helps that next person. Because the truth is, people just want to know what you can do for them. They don't really care about what you do and all you do. They just want to know how that relates to them. So they're quite selfish when you think about it. It's sort of to be
that. Well, and that's exactly right. I mean, I'll give you an example. We 3 times the conversion rate on a social media marketing agency's landing page because their headline was social media marketing agency. Nobody gets out of bed in the morning and says, you know what I must do today? I must find a social media marketing agency. And again, if you ask 10 people, what is a social media marketing agency? I'm certain you would get 12 different answers. So we changed the headline to something that was along the lines of, we help this kind of business get these kind of leads from these kind of social networks.
Right.
I.e., you had to fill in the blanks on that. It was not quite such a clumsy headline as that, but it was whatever it is that they do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you probably did get out of bed this morning thinking, I need to get more leads. I wonder if I can do that from social media. You arrive on this landing page and you're like, oh, okay, that's what they do.
Yeah.
That's the tin, and it says on the tin what they do.
And I think it also forces you, or the person whose business it is, to be actually really clear and specific about who it is you're helping and how. And the truth is, and you probably find this, lots of people don't really know, or they think they help everyone, which is totally the wrong answer, So it forces you to get clarity on that. Would you agree?
Well, Peter Drucker, the management consultant, I quote this all the time. He said most businesses don't know what they sell. Because they think they're selling, it's the classic copywriting example. Customers don't buy drills, they buy the hole they want the drill to make. And That's what Peter Drucker is saying there. And a lot of the time, companies don't think of it. They're very excited about what they do, and they leave it to you, the consumer, to join the dots. It would be like IKEA saying to you, we flat pack furniture.
Yeah.
Great. I don't care about that. I need a bed for my kid. That's what I care about, you know, and I want it to be easy, and I want it to be inexpensive, and I want it to fit in the boot of my car. Yeah. These are all the things that I want. I don't care that you flat pack furniture. Someone
once said to me, a good way to kind of get that information out of your own head and out of yourself is to, you say, I flat pack furniture, and you insert, so then what? And that sort of forces that out of you. Anyway, we might be jumping ahead on some of our 7-point checklist. So number 1, above the fold, who do you serve and what it is specifically that you do? What's number 2?
Who are you? So you need an About Us page that tells me who you are. Not that you like windsurfing at the weekend and you've got 9 children, and unless that's super relevant. If you sell surfboards, your history as a surfer, or the fact that you spend your weekend surfing or every morning surfing, that is incredibly relevant. But your About Us page is the one lie you are allowed to tell on your website. And the lie is that the page is going to be about you, because an About Us page is not about you. It is still about your customer. You need to think about, what does my customer want from me, and who am I to give it to them? So if they are looking for tax advice, the fact that you've been doing it for 25 years, that's a good start. What is it? What is your approach? Why is that relevant to me? Those are the sort of things I'm looking for, not that you're a lovely member of the local community. Sadly, that is not. relevant.
Do you think, though, that in this day and age, social media and people sharing, aspects about their life on, say, their business page, etc., do you think that people kind of do like to know that aspect about somebody?
I think it really depends, and that's what you need to think about. Like, if your experience is that, if you're a GP and your experience is that your patients want to know that when you bring in your children, I've got 3 children of my own, I really understand, I'd never give them antibiotics if I don't have to. If that resonates, then that should definitely be included. But if I'm looking for tax advice, I don't care what you think about yoga. I mean, I really don't think that's likely.
Okay, fair enough. I think, one could do a whole podcast episode on just writing the perfect about page. I mean, I look in many Google Analytics accounts for people, and pretty much 9 times out of 10, that is the second most visited page on your website, but after your homepage. And
people want to know. Particularly if you're selling a service, it's a window into the shop. Not having an About Us page is a little bit like walking down the high street and every shop having frosted windows, and on the front it says lovely things inside.
Yes. But
you can't see through the window. People are nervous. I mean, I think the thing that psychologically people forget is your clients like the status quo and they are naturally inert. They are looking for any excuse not to pick up the phone.
Totally. Yeah. Okay, so number 2 was who are you, conveyed on your about page. What's number 3?
Proof. Anything you say must be backed up with a sufficient amount of proof to make the reader confident that you can actually do it. So if you're going to say, my favorite example, that you are the leading mortgage broker in North Sydney, what is your proof? I've just been to 3 other websites. They are all apparently the leading mortgage broker in my area. What is your proof that you are in fact the leading person? And proof in this instance, it's not scientific proof. It's not legal proof. It could be proof like social proof, for instance. We have a 5-star Google rating is proof. It's social proof. If you are an engineer, the use of engineering language will prove that you speak engineering language. There are dozens and dozens of different kinds of proof, and the more of them you use, the better it is.
Would you say that testimonials could be sufficient proof?
Testimonials could be sufficient proof. The more proof, the better. But testimonials certainly, social proof is one of the strongest. So, I mean, if you go back to Cialdini's influence, there are 6 psychological shortcuts that humans use to make decisions because we have to make so many decisions every day. And one of the most powerful is, what's everybody else doing? And the example of that is, you're walking down the street in a new city, you're looking for somewhere to eat, you come across 2 restaurants, one has 5 people in, one has 25 people in. You are almost undoubtedly going to go to the one with 25 people in, even though those 25 people may have no taste buds, they may be related to the owner, they may be getting a free meal that you're not going to get, you don't know. But you don't have time to work it out, you're just going to look. So if you're going to have testimonials, there's a level beyond Ilana's fabulous thumbs up. You would ideally like the person giving you the testimonial to indicate that they are like your ideal client, so that I see somebody like me doing something, that they experience a problem like the problem that I have experienced, and you give their name. Like the number of times I see people who want to use Ilana W., for instance, as the testimonial. Now, I understand if the site is of an extremely personal nature that somebody might not want to say Steven Lewis uses this cream for this unsightly rash. Fair enough, right? But Stephen L. uses your accounting services. It's not very specific, and it therefore undermines the nature of the proof. So even with testimonials, don't just take them as they are. Try to get your clients to shape the testimonial to prove what you want to prove.
What about in industries where you've got to be really careful about, proof being Google reviews? Like, for example, dentistry. I used to do a lot of Google ads for dentists. And that is an industry which has lots and lots of regulation around, like you can't have any reviews on the website, etc. If you're a dentist, how do you demonstrate proof?
Well, dentists are a fantastic example of a number of things because we've done a lot of work for dentists. And one of the things I most love about dentists is, and this is relevant, this is a bonus eighth consideration, is are you talking about what I actually want to talk about? So all dentists want to tell you that they're pain-free.
Right.
You can't tell me you're pain-free without using the word pain. No dentist would tell me they were painful, so it's kind of meaningless anyway. Every dentist is going to claim to be pain-free. Don't plant the idea of pain. Our research has shown that the number one thing that dental patients care about is, will the dentist and their team be friendly? That's what people want to know, particularly if they're scared of getting hurt. They want to know that you'll care. So you should be thinking about what needs to be proven. You think about what people need to know. The proof element in terms of social proof is not there, but how long have you been in business? What are your qualifications? I mean, we improved the conversion rate for an implant specialist by an enormous amount. We at least doubled it, partly by talking about the fact that this specialist trains other specialists. Now, what is a better form of proof? We've just used that for a surgeon in LA who trains other surgeons. Well, who do you want to go to? The surgeon who was trained or the surgeon who did the training? You know, do you want Yoda or the trainee Jedi, right?
Yeah.
So, that kind of proof is really strong.
Yeah. And where do you feel you put this proof? Is it on, is it above the fold, like our, point number 1, or is it in the about page? I think in Australia, and this is sort of a very Australian thing, not so much a US or, like we have tall poppy syndrome where, you can't kind of shout from the rooftops how fantastic you are. It's, Australians don't like that. So how do you, I guess, elegantly, and where do you embed this proof that sits well with people?
To every transaction, there are a huge series of objections, ranging from the usual and massive, it's too expensive, to the absolutely tiny, oh, you're only open on Tuesdays and I don't like leaving the house on a Tuesday. What you need to do when putting together a landing page is address the objections in order. So, for instance, we did a landing page for some doctors who treat a condition that many sufferers don't believe is curable. So you could lead on that landing page with the fact that the solution is affordable. But if I don't believe there's a solution in the first place, it doesn't matter if it's $2. I'm not going to get off the sofa because I think you're selling snake oil. So you need claim and proof in the order in which they need to be knocked down. So in their case, we increased the conversion rate on that landing page by 433% by saying to ourselves, what is the first thing people need to believe? They need to believe you've got a cure. So we said that in the headline. That was the headline. Then we proved it. Then people are saying to themselves, okay, well there's a cure, but can you deliver it? So then we prove that our guys can deliver the cure. Now I might start to wonder about, do I want this cure? Are there any side effects? Like there's cures and cures. So then we address that, and so on and so on. So you need claim and proof alongside the claim. So if it's something really simple, if you're selling burgers, then it's probably enough to have a nice photo of the burger. That's proof. Your address and the fact that you've got 5-star reviews on Google for your mouth-watering, but that's probably enough. If you are suggesting that people might want their chest cavity cut open by you, then you probably need a little bit more in the way of objection, claim, proof, and so on. But so where your proof goes depends on where your claims need to go.
Yeah, right. Interesting. Alrighty. So number 3 is proof. Number 4 is
benefits. Don't rely on people to understand or connect your feature to your benefit.
Yeah.
So nobody buys a refrigerator because they woke up in the morning and said, I'd like a box that's cold inside. That is the feature of the refrigerator. It is a box that is cold inside. The benefit is your drinks will be cold in summer, the food will last longer, and don't forget the benefits that people won't admit to liking, like your neighbors will be green with envy because your ice maker does a margarita out the front of your fridge. That is an element, right? That nobody buys a Mercedes because it holds the road better on the way to Woolies than a Mazda, right? That is not why you buy a Mercedes. So you also want to be hinting at the benefit. So, a vivid example of that would be certainly the old style beer commercial that implied to you that if you drank that particular type of beer, then that particular type of lady would do that particular type of thing with you.
Yeah.
Nonsense, obviously, but very strongly implied and very strongly speaking to a benefit that the target audience wanted.
Yeah.
So don't just list, it does this, it does this, it does this, it does this. What does that mean to you? And to go to your earlier point, keep asking yourself, so what?
Yeah.
It's in a bottle. So what? Well, it's got a squirty thing on the top. Oh, okay. So it's handy. You can carry it around. Okay. So what? So what? So what? So what? And eventually you will get down to what somebody will actually. There's a fabulous example of a 1950s ad for a soap. And the benefit promised is that you will look beautiful so your husband won't stray with other women. Okay. Now, that's repugnant. And because it's so repugnant in today, you can see clearly what they were doing. Whereas if you go back and deconstruct a good landing page today, you may not notice how subtly they're weaving in the benefits.
Yeah.
But when they tell you your husband won't cheat on you because you're using the right soap, it's pretty vivid what they're saying. But they don't just say, it'll make you clean, comes in a handy bar shape.
Yeah.
It's the benefit.
Do you think it's even worth mentioning the features as well? So everyone talks
You've definitely got to mention the feature because the benefit attaches to the feature, and you will have, there's debate about this, that it's, Kahneman won a Nobel Prize for proving that people make decisions emotionally, not logically, but you will still find people arguing that logic plays a part. Logic is best treated as what people use to justify the decision they have emotionally made. I wanted these things because of these benefits, but I did it because it was cheaper, lasts longer. Like if you ask somebody who buys a red sports car why they bought a red sports car for $300,000, they're not going to tell you because I feel potent in it.
Yeah.
That is not the answer they're ever going to give you. They're going to tell you because it goes 0 to 60. And when you say to them, but you can never drive it at the speeds at which it goes legally, they won't have an answer for that, but they'll list off the features for you. We all know what the benefit is, right? So that's what you need to be. That's what you need to be talking to for people. But have the features there so that they've got when their partner says to them, why did you just drop, $10,000 on this? They can give them a very sensible list of reasons.
Right. Okay, cool. Alrighty. So that sounds good. What's number 5?
Get rid of the jargon. Every industry has jargon.
Yeah.
You think everybody knows what it means. I used to work for a financial services company, and in the end, out of frustration, I took a microphone down to Circular Quay and bailed up tourists, and I read things aloud to them from internal documents and asked the tourists to tell me what they thought these things meant. One of them was, we will engage with subject matter experts in multi-geographies. What I was expecting was for the person on the street to say to me, yeah, I've got no idea. That's gibberish, right? The thing that amazed me was every person we bailed up on the street had a go at telling me what it meant.
Right.
Now, for the benefit of anybody who's still with us, working with a subject matter expert across multi-geographies simply means the company had offices in different cities, and on this internal project, they would work with whoever was necessary, regardless of what office they were in.
Right.
Brilliant. Absolutely phenomenal. But nobody who answered the questions on the street got the answer correct, in the sense that they didn't know actually what the author meant by that. So just get rid of the jargon. You are aiming for an 11-year-old's reading level. If you, like nobody, I mean, one of my favorite words in the entire world, Ilana, is learnings. Except it's not a word. The word you're looking for is lessons. Lessons, not learnings, lessons. You don't say to your children when they come home from school, what were your learnings today? You say, what did you learn today? If you wouldn't say it to your 11-year-old, don't write it on your landing page. It's not necessary. But that's quite a hard one for people because they think they're terribly clever and they're very, very worried about not sounding clever.
The thing with jargon, and I find this especially in the work that I do, where, for a long time I've run an agency, and a lot of other agencies use jargon on their clients to sound like they know what they're talking about, and so to confuse people and sort of use it a way of like pulling the wool over their eyes a little bit. And, so that they use that strategically, and there is a tremendous amount of jargon in the work that I do. But what people don't realize is is that it can really put people off as well. So yes, as to your point of it's subject to misinterpretation, but beyond that, it sort of makes people think, oh God, how stupid am I? How do I know what CPV means, or how do I not know how to calculate CPA? Oh my God, that's terrible. I'm not even going to talk to this person, because I should know this if I spend $2,000 a month on ads, how to calculate this, and I'm too embarrassed to admit this.
Well, one of the things that I think people always think or they act as if the person who comes to their landing page is the customer. But we've all worked in organizations where somebody higher up has said, go and find me 4 people who do this. So you go out and you find 4 people and you present them to the boss. And the boss says, which one do you think is the best of the 4? Part of the job of your landing page, unless you are certain you're dealing with the end customer, is to skill the person who's reading the page up so that they can say, you are the person that they recommend, and for the following reasons. And if you've used so much impenetrable jargon on your website that the person really doesn't even know if you do. I looked at I got a referral recently to somebody, so I went to their website to have a look at what they do. I'm not kidding you when I say I had to read 4 pages of their website to work out that they were a software development company. 4 pages.
Wow.
It's not the Da Vinci Code. I'm not on an exploration, right? I'm doing it because I'm going to have a call with you. But if my boss had sent me out to find a software development company and I can't work out on the first page or a software development company, like, you don't meet tick 1, let alone are you the best. I'm not even sure that's what you do. How embarrassed am I going to be when I go back to the boss and I find I've actually put a sandwich company in front of them?
Yeah.
I'm not going to take that risk.
And people aren't just going to persevere for that long. They're not going to read 4 pages. Like, they're not even going to really scroll. I mean, we all know, people's attention span and bounce rates are really high, so you have to be so clear and talk in a language not to confuse people with jargon.
You do have to be clear, and I guess long form copy is not dead. People are very quick to say everything should be. So we work with a lot of web designers, and a lot of web designers, they feel if there's more copy than you could fit on the label of a wine bottle, there's too much copy. The rule of thumb is you need as much copy on your landing page as it would take you to persuade somebody in person to do what you want them to do. So if I said to somebody, hey, I've got the keys to my Lamborghini, do you want to take it for a test drive? Those are probably enough words. If I said my Lamborghini's outside, would you like to buy it? Those are probably not enough words to convince you that you should be buying my Lamborghini. So the examples I gave of the doctor's landing pages, each of those is about 4,000 words long. They are long pages because they are big decisions to consider.
Yeah.
But there are points in the page where you can jump off. If I've read enough to be convinced, if you've got claim, proof, call to action, claim, proof, call to action, I can jump out and take an action as soon as you've convinced me. But what most people do is they don't have enough stuff to convince the person who is not yet convinced but would be convinced if you gave them a bit more proof or a bit more reason to choose you. People are very quick to go with a short page these days.
Yeah. I once read somewhere, and I don't remember where, I should probably try and find it, that good copy that's written really well is hard not to read, and I think that's really true. Like, it's got to draw you in so much that it's hard to turn away, which is hard to do, but
it's hard to do. It's time consuming, but a good rule of thumb is the number one job of your headline is to get you to read the first sentence.
Correct.
Same with an email subject line. The job of your first sentence is to get you to read the second sentence. People get really confused by that, particularly if you've got a slightly old school SEO mentality, which is I've got to pack as many keyword phrases into my headline as possible, preferably at the front of the headline. And you're like, well, that may be great for SEO. That's not my area of expertise. But you're going to send more humans running for the hills who come across that language. So, we just did some research for somebody in a particular segment. And what was really clear reading their competitors' websites was that it was written for SEO. So as a human, you just felt like you were being talked to by a robot, and it wasn't building the rapport that you needed to build. So, I mean, we could call that tip whatever we're at now, that length.
Okay, we're up to tip number 6.
That could be tip number 6. Length is critically important. And in fact, I think we could make tip number 7. The job of each sentence is to make you read the next sentence. Those are, if you look at those things on your website, and also I'm going to go for tip number 8, Alana, like bonus tip for people.
Okay.
If you are going to show your copy to somebody and ask them what you think, particularly if you paid somebody like me to write it, please, for the love of God, would you ask somebody in your target market? I had a guy who manages investment properties for people. We wrote him a landing page. He said, look, I've shown it to 4 or 5 people. They read the headline. They said, look, I wouldn't read on. I said, do they own investment properties? He said, no. I said, well, of course they wouldn't read on. Why would they read on? They're not in. But honestly, the number of times you get feedback like, my mum didn't like it. Dave thinks it should be more purple. It doesn't matter. And that's the beauty. If you're paying for traffic, you can do the maths. Let those people decide.
And that's the beauty of paying for traffic, is you are buying access to exactly your target customer. So there's the ultimate proof of, is this converting or not? Like, am I talking to the right customer? They've literally just typed into Google, insert whatever you do. So that variable is gone. You don't have someone who's just keyboard warrior putting in their 2 cents worth or something.
I mean, that's right. I mean, we did some writing for a guy who was a former professor of human factors at Monash University, world expert in human factors. Now, human factors, Ilana, you will know already, but for other people, are how people interact with machines. So the human factor in driving is fatigue, those sorts of things. And he started talking to me about cross-modal attention shifting. And I said, Mike, what is cross-modal attention shifting? And he said, well, when you're watching the TV and you hear a loud noise and you look towards the noise, you've just cross-modally attention shifted. I said, can we talk about distraction instead? Because people will understand that. And the resistance for him was he was worried about sounding stupid to the other professors of human factors.
Yeah.
But they are not your audience.
Yeah.
If you're a lawyer, your target punter is probably not a lawyer. So what you write might sound very simplistic to other lawyers, but really attractive to your client who is trying to achieve an outcome.
Yeah.
That's what you need to look at. Always be going with the data and your target client.
Cool. Alrighty. Well, I think unless you want to insert a double bonus, Stephen, I think we might.
That'll do.
That'll do. I think we might leave it there.
Long enough.
I think we've certainly covered a lot of really important points, and I'm certainly thinking about some landing pages that we're sending traffic to. Do they satisfy all your really important points? So thank you for sharing your wisdom today. Where can people find out more information about you and what you do?
There's more at Taleist.Agency, and Taleist is as in telling tales, stories, Taleist. And some of the things that we've been talking about today, there's a download on the site at Taleist.Agency/7 things. So 7 things anyone can do to increase their conversion rate. You don't need technical skills in your website. It's all about the wording.
And it's the kind of thing that you don't need any more traffic. Even if you just leverage your existing traffic you can hopefully get more conversions from what you currently got. You don't even need to buy more traffic. That's awesome. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day. I know we're all busy people, and especially coming up to the end of 2019 at the time of this recording, which is pretty crazy. So thank you so much for coming on today's show, and talk to you soon. You have been listening to the Talking Web Marketing podcast. For more information or resources on today's episode, head on over to talkingwebmarketing.com.